Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Satti and joining me is my wonderful co-host who happens to be Ali Munir. Assalamu-alaikum Ali. How are you doing
Walaikum
today?
assalam, and again, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction and the start of the day.
I think you truly deserve that. But Ali, since it's a fine Tuesday morning, early in the morning, but we often face lows and ups and downs in our lives. And I would like to ask you this question, that whenever you are feeling low, whenever you're feeling that there's a weak moment going on in your life, and obviously life is not a bed of roses.
Definitely.
So what do you do? How do you console yourself? How do you come out from that phase?
Well, it depends upon the situation, and thank you for asking me this question because I think there are many people who actually, when they're feeling low,
Yes.
they somehow hide this feeling that they're feeling
Yes,
low and they
yes.
have no one to talk to.
Yes.
But, as for myself, I do think about the good memories that I have and the
Okay.
people I do have in my life and the blessings that I have in my
Yes,
life.
yes.
So, whenever you feel low, I would suggest people that don't pent up those feelings.
Yes.
But also do think about the blessings that you have in your life.
Thank you so much for pointing it out, but I think that we have to come a long way about not demonizing our emotions, because we demonize and dehumanize emotions a lot, and
That's
we
true.
say that, don't feel sentimental, don't be that emotional. I think that that's a justified feeling, and that's particularly what your brain is trying to tell you in the form of the emotions, and the more you try to suppress them, the more it will reverberate across your heart and across your mind, and especially about the crying. And there's a lot of discourse now, feminist discourse, about describing that how we need to move beyond those very toxic sort of
Oh,
statements
that's
that
true.
men don't
That's very
cry.
true.
Men do cry, right? Prophets used to cry for the sins of their people, for their own state, and because they were fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And crying is one emotion that brings you a lot more closer to
That's
Allah
very
subhanahu
true.
wa ta'ala,
And
right?
I do believe that, it's very healthy for your body.
Of course,
All the negativity and the
Catharsis,
toxic
it's a
emotions that you
catharsis,
have,
yes.
they just simply went out of your body and your mind.
That's very true. It's a catharsis, and after crying, you really feel better. But obviously, we need to tread a very fine path between expressing too much emotions and making sure that you have a very fine and a safe space where you can allow your emotions to come out from that. That's a thing that we will obviously, it's a challenge treading that path. But we will obviously talk about the emotions, because these are the very fundamental human values. And after pain, there is a lot of productivity and the creativity that come out by the human activity. And there's been a lot that has been written about, especially in psychology, how pain can actually make you do a lot of wonderful things, because when you recover from that pain, you learn a lot of lessons. And if you have that capacity, and you can build a very productive and a fruitful path for yourself. But obviously, now we will talk about our segment, and we will move towards it. And that's a very pertinent and pressing issue that has gripped particularly the Punjab of Pakistan, that is related to the smog. And it has been labeled as the 5th season of the Pakistan, because it is such a pertinent and a malicious presence inside the Lahore. And Punjab government have also taken this decision to give Saturdays off to the schools so that people could protect themselves. And government has decided to implement the smart lockdowns so that the people's health, people's lives can be more protected, and they can be safe. And the Chief Minister also mentioned that prioritizing health is a collective responsibility. And obviously, we need to talk more about it. We need to discuss about what are the implications of the smog, how we can learn from our neighbors, particularly from the China, and how they control the darker skies and very contagious and very, I would like to say, polluted air that they had,
True.
especially in the Beijing. What sort of solutions do they offer? Obviously, rainfall is a solution, but artificial rainfall is a very expensive method. And what sort of smart solutions can we apply?
And I think it's
to tackle
temporary
that?
as well, Hajra.
That's
isn't
very
it?
true. That's very true. It's very temporary, but we are going to talk about it, and we are very glad that we have been joined by someone who is one of our very favorite environmentalists, who happens to grace us in our studio. He happens to be Dr. Ijaz Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me for this important topic.
Right. So, Dr. Saab, you and I were discussing before the red light of this camera went on that we need to discuss the open burning, and which is one of the contributing factor towards this smog. And alhamdulillah, in Islamabad, we are relatively protected by this very malicious phenomena. But I don't know for how long we can protect ourselves. considering the fact that the state of a human activity that is going on. So what is open burning and how is it contributing towards the smog?
Well, I think when we talk about smog, there are many factors which contribute to smog. For example, vehicular emission, burning of stubbles in the crop. But one thing which is very important is open burning, where people for their convenience or whatever reason do not dump the waste into the dumpsters. Rather, they and the workers who are involved in collecting garbage from door to door. What they do is for their convenience, they just actually, like at the corner of the street, they try to burn it, and which is more dangerous in a sense. When we talk about stubbles or crop burning, it only creates like problem related to carbon dioxide, methane, etc. But when we talk about burning of the garbage collecting from the households,
Right.
it contains so many dangerous like things when it burns.
Oh,
For example, all the plastics, the Tetra Packs, the wrapping material, etc. So when you burn it, they actually, in addition to the carbon and carbon dioxide, methane, etc., they also release furans, toxins, which are very dangerous in a sense. There are some of the agents, cancer causing agents, and in addition to like eye burning, the asthma and the other problems that we face, even cardiovascular or the bronchitis, and like there is a long list of all the health related and disease related issues which are actually like people are suffering from that without knowing that. Even the worker who burn it, they are closest to that, and they also actually inhale all the toxics that is actually coming out of this open burning.
Absolutely, and it also reminds me of those workers who happen to work hajra at the tire shops. I think they are very much exposed to all these toxins that probably rubber and all the plastics they have. We were talking about the hazardous plastics in the environment.
That's correct. So actually, like we are very carefree kind of people. We don't care much. We don't wear gloves.
But
we don't take masks.
Don't you think that we have become very carefree? I must say not carefree, but very careless indeed.
Careless, right.
And this carelessness is actually exploding this bomb all over us.
That's true.
That is actually the problem. Like we say nothing happens. Just a simple example. If someone is diabetic, he or she will eat whatever she is not supposed to eat, and then the result will be like more diabetic issues. And if you talk to him, her, and tell not to do that, they'll say nothing will happen. If there is something which is coming to me, it is going to come. Allah ki marzi.
Right, and we've also seen there was a very pertinent research carried out in the China, and that was a very eye-opening and it was very heart-wrenching that scientists have found the microplastics in the cloud formation, Ali, and out of the 28 samples that were tested of the cloud formation, 24 were littered with the microplastics. So microplastics have found their way not just in the water, in the soil, in the blood, but also how they impact the cloud formation, right? And we've seen that how nature is getting disturbed by human activity. But Dr. Saab, how can we control and curb this menace of plastics? Because you see that all of these industries, they are producing so many plastics, and it requires such a huge shift in our human behavior, in our lifestyles, that we are not ready to make those concessions for the sake of an environment which obviously impact us in the first place. What is the solution?
I think there is no short-term solution because we are used to it now. I mean, like it has become a habit to carry, not to carry any bag with you for grocery, for shopping, etc. So anything, even like milk and yogurt, etc. When you buy it, it is actually it comes with the in plastic bag. And this plastic, which is a single-use plastic, is more dangerous as compared to the other plastics, which are thinner, which are thicker actually, and then multiple use is possible. So I think we need to find number one alternate, and these alternates will be as convenient as plastic and cheaper. so that people is willing to use it voluntarily. So, at the moment, although there is a ban on plastic bags, but everywhere you go you will find it. So, the ban has to be enforced, but before that enforcement I think we need to have alternate. And there are hundreds of thousands of people which are involved in the business. So, we also need to look into the livelihood of these people who are dependent on this plastic business, manufacturer, supplier, users, etc.
Right. So Dr. Saab, do you think that you're talking about the plastics? So, do you think it's a mafia in the country?
Well, I think there are so many mafias in the country. What happens is, I think we don't give. Yeah, it is an industry actually. We don't give alternate. You know, we enforce the from tomorrow there will be no plastic use. But where is the alternate? Where is the option for people to look into this? Although I mean, like these cloth bags are there, but nobody carries it. So we need to make. There are many countries actually, you know, like who have banned it. In Bangladesh, they use this sack, which is, you know, like a cloth bag, which is being used for any, you know, like even for medicines. If you go, you will get that jute bag. So there are options which are available, but I think we need to look for the alternate business, alternate option for livelihood, and also the alternates for the
right. So, Dr. Saab, you happen to be an environmentalist and a very accomplished environmentalist, I must say. So, what are the biodegradable solutions compared to the non-biodegradable ones?
Well, again, you know, like when we talk about biodegradable solution, for example, cloth. Cloth is a biodegradable option. Then we also have, there are many plastics which we now due to, you know, like the many research studies, they have come up with the certain plastic which is biodegradable plastic, and the source of that plastic is something organic. So that can be used, and it has a quicker actually degradation rate within few years, as compared to the plastic that we use 100 years or 1000 years even. So there are options, but they are very expensive, and it will take time for us to adopt.
Right. And Dr. Saab, now let's ruminate over the smart lockdowns that the government has decided to impose in the Punjab, especially in the Lahore and in 10 districts. How do you see the effectiveness of the smart lockdowns? Because the air concentration level or the air quality index in the Lahore was very unhealthy. That was around 406. And after these smart lockdowns, it has come to very unhealthy level of 241. 0.5. So let's contemplate on that, and what can be further done to subvert this very malicious fog or smog that we say.
I think lockdown, smart lockdowns are good options, but I think we need to look into the real cause, the root cause of this issue. How many days can you afford? I mean, like there are you know schools, businesses, offices. These lockdowns could be, you know, like on emergency basis for a day or 2 or 3, but I think another factor which contributed was rain. Because of rain, this air quality index actually, you know, like was lower, and any mechanism which disperses all this, you know, like emission will contribute into reduction of air quality index. But I think most important thing is the root cause. Root causes of the smog is basically, as we talk, burning. The transport, the vehicular emission contributes 45, and some studies show 60% of air pollution. So if we actually target only vehicular emission, I think we will be in a better position, in a sense that we don't concentrate, we don't focus on proper tuning. We don't focus on the catalytic converters, which are actually at some point mandatory, but nobody actually, you know, like follow it. The quality of oil is so degraded, in a sense that used oil is repacked and then is being reused.
That's indeed a problem.
Yeah, and it's throughout Pakistan this is happening. Then I think if you see in Lahore especially, public transport, although metro and Orange Line is there, but the access is, I think, limited, and need to expand on more public transport, because on the regular basis, thousands and thousands of vehicles, rickshaws, chinji, trucks, buses, diesel operated vehicles, they are entering into the roads, and then ultimately they are causing all these air pollution issues.
And one of the problem, and I think one of the thing that we need to talk about, especially when it comes to smog, is how it requires a transnational effort to curb it, because from our neighboring countries, especially from the Indian Punjab, we've also seen that the smog also, because you can't stop the air from infiltrating, right? And we see that there's a lot of subtle crop burning in that Punjab, and their farmers are doing it, and that is also contributing a lot to the deteriorating situation in the Lahore. And obviously there's this environmental baggage is on the India, because India has been a very mass polluter and emitter of the carbon dioxide, right? So what sort of solutions do you suppose? Because when we talk about it, the Global South claims that the industrialization was done much later, and it is the West's responsibility, right? And in this blame game, we see that we are suffering, we humans are suffering. So can we subdue this politics in the greater interest of the humanity, in the greater interest of the environment and the climate?
I think we have to actually, because it is as you mentioned, the movement of air brings all the good and bad things. We have been receiving bad things so far, in the form of emission, in the form of dust, in the form of carbon, polluted air, etc. And whatever solution is, we need to actually sit together and discuss it. The international conventions are basically, there, which actually we all are committed to work on it, to follow whatever they say. And based on that, I think the movement of these trans movement, there are like 2-3 different conventions which actually which actually focus on transboundary movement of these emissions. And we need to look what are the options and sit together. Unless and until we come up with a common action plan, we are going to suffer. Even if we do anything good in Pakistan, the air coming from neighboring countries will actually pollute our air, or vice versa. So unless we sit
Dr.
together.
Saab, I really want to ask you this question, that how significant do you think is the role of political instability in this climate catastrophe?
Well, I think it does play a role, because I think the stability of the governments, etc., if you start dialogue with
and even stability in relations with the other nations as well.
Right. But again, I think these are some of the issues which are supposed to be done at the technical level. Definitely politics, etc., is there, but who is suffering? A common person in the like on the street. So we need to come up with the solution which is acceptable and which is like more related to a common person. Politics remains there without any disturbing the political agenda. We need to work on these issues.
Definitely.
And Ali, we've also seen that there's a COP conference coming, especially in the December, right? And obviously with the situation that is going on in the Middle East, that might be a more talking agenda in that COP conference. But obviously COP conferences are convened to discuss about the climate change, about the environment. So what are the important points, do you think, Dr. Saab, that Pakistan can make in that conference to highlight our cause? Because like you mentioned, we are suffering the sins, or we are suffering because of someone else doing. This is not our doing, and we have seen that how badly it impacts us, it adversely infects us, right, when it comes to the climate change discourses. So what are the talking points do you think our state needs to raise in that conference?
I think as you mentioned earlier, one of the important point that Pakistan has been raising for last many years is that we are not the contributor, we are not the polluter to that level, but we are suffering for decades now. Pakistan remained like top 5 countries who are suffering from climate change, climate related issues. And there was one mechanism which was actually highlighted for last few years, loss and damage.
Yes.
that
Loss and damage fund, yes.
whatever damages actually are happening in Pakistan, just like for last 5-6 years, actually 2010 when we had massive floods.
Yes.
And then after every year or after every alternate years, we have been facing huge losses in the form of cyclones, in the form of drought. We are having floods in one part of Pakistan, and on the other part in Balochistan we are suffering from drought. So, and these are all related to climate change. So, loss and damage is one such area where we need to actually focus more and more. The developed countries, which are actually the part of the problem because of their industrial
They are
growth,
committing the sins and we are suffering.
yes, so they are trying to avoid it. I mean, like last year in last COP, they included this loss and damage in the agenda at the last moment, at the last minute, just before the conference started. So they are trying to avoid it and take responsibility of whatever sins that they have actually so far done. But Pakistan has, and Pakistan was leading Group 77 as well last year, and Pakistan has to play that role. And we are actually confident that maybe like in coming years, their recognition will be there, although they have started recognizing. But first, initially, they were not even recognizing that climate change is an issue.
Right.
So now they have started, because like in the Western countries, last year we had this huge heat wave in
That's
the
true.
European country.
That's true.
We have
Wildfires.
exactly,
Yes.
wildfires, and then the cyclones and floods, etc. in US.
True, true.
All these actually resulted in the recognition of the issue. So I think maybe in coming years, we will like come up with certain understanding where they will recognize that okay, loss and damage is an appropriate way to deal with this situation.
I mean, they have committed $100 billion, but how much that translates into the action, we have to
exactly,
see, because
yeah.
the last conferences, we also see that lots of talk were happening, but we did not see any major
Right.
concessions going on, any
Right.
major doing going on. And I think it's high time that we follow up in this conference that what is happening, which was talked about in the last conference. But Dr. Saab, one last question before we wrap up this segment. We've seen that how Pakistan is vulnerable because of the climate change, and now our ecosystem is changing. What is the impact of this entire on the local communities, on the indigenous populations that derive their livelihood from the environment,
Yeah.
and they are protectors of the environment?
I think very important. We have seen that climate migration is going on in various parts of Pakistan. Sea water intrusion actually is resulting in the communities from the coastal area moving into the inland, where they don't have any skill that is related to like agriculture, etc., because fishing was their main source of income and was their main business. So now they either they are out of business, or they do certain jobs which they are not like trained. So it's a very unfortunate situation that even in the northern part of Pakistan, people are moving from there. So this climate migration is going on in various parts of Pakistan. The areas where we see drought is like going on for last few years, people move from there. So there is a cultural problems, there are
true.
social issues, there are livelihood related issues, and people suffer a lot because of this. And these are poor communities which are suffering, because if if you have money,
you're
you can
talking
move.
about the poor communities. I think there is a very important perspective of haves and haves not as well.
Right, of course, like they don't have that kind of choice. They have to actually do whatever like is available in those areas.
That's
so
true.
it's not their choice. They are forced to migrate. So that is very unfortunate in a sense that the next generation maybe will be in a better position, but at the moment it is one of the issue that you have actually
It
pointed
is a
out.
very pressing concern, and we certainly need to do more about it. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for coming
Thank you.
on our show and for talking about the smog, which is a very pertinent and malicious issue that has gripped the entire nation, especially the Punjab, and paralyzed the public life there. And we've seen that how government has to impose the smart lockdowns in order to protect the humanity there, and it is our collective responsibility to talk about it. So we are going on a short break, and after you come back, we have a very interesting discussion lined up with lots of flutes
And
and
I guess
music and
interesting
melodies.
performances as
yes,
well.
yes. So with that, we are going on a short break, and after we come back, so that don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, and like we talked before, there's a very interesting segment which is lined up, and that is obviously going to be a delight for the ears, right? Because we definitely want to listen to some very interesting, sweet tunes and melodies in the air. But Ali, before we start this segment and formally jump into it, I wanted to ask you that, are you fond of music? Because
Oh, definitely. Who is not
Yes.
fond of music?
Yes.
Are you fond of music?
Of course, of course. And which sort of genres do you listen?
Nothing in particular. Anything that sounds pleasing to the ears.
That's very true. And without any further ado, without any monopolizing our conversations, we would like to introduce a worthy guest who have come from abroad, and they're going to have a very interesting and amazing performance here on our studio. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Mr. Jersey, who happens to be also known as the Pelican System, instrumentalist, composer, producer, and saxophonist. Hello and welcome to our show.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. Great.
Wonderful,
It's
wonderful.
amazing to be here in Islamabad.
That's wonderful. So joining Mr. Jersey, we have the Bartek here, who's also from the Poland, and he's the drummer. How are you doing? Sorry, how are you doing today?
Also, very, very nice to be here. Thank you. Weather is really nice. People are wonderful. Food is amazing. Yes, it's
That's
fantastic.
wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Right. So, how is your stay going on? You were telling me before we went on to the camera that you're here in Pakistan for the first time.
Yes.
So,
yes.
how are you finding your entire experience in the country?
It's just the second day. It's hard to tell for now,
Right.
but so far so good.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Right. So I'll ask you, Mr. Jersey, how is Pakistan treating you so far?
It's our second day, but the weather it's amazing, and as you said, Bartek, people are they're very warm here, and
Right. Right. So can you play a little bit something for us? Like
Sure.
we've been waiting quite for some time now.
Of course, of course.
With pleasure, with pleasure.
So can we hear something from your instruments, because we really want to listen to these amazing melodies and tunes that you. And ladies and gentlemen, they're also going to perform at PNCA on 26th of November, and we're very glad that they have joined us, and we would definitely like to listen some melodies from them, but we would also like to introduce our third guest, because he was also here in the studio, but because of some technical difficulty we could not introduce him. So we are very glad that we have also been joined by Mr. Isad Halilovic. He also happens to be a musician, and he's also joined the band. How are you doing today, and welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you. I'm really happy.
Are you excited for performing at the PNCA?
Please?
I am saying, are you excited to perform at PNCA?
Yes, yes, yes. Of course. It's my second time to perform in PNC.
That's wonderful. So can we listen to something? Can we listen to something, because you have the wonderful instruments here, and we really want to listen to the melodies and the tunes early in the morning, and we want to reverberate ourselves. So please go ahead. So ladies and gentlemen, please book your slots at the PNCA on 26th of November, because we're going to listen to this band that has come from the Poland, and we're very excited to listen to these tunes. So please go ahead. That's wonderful, and thank you so much for these melodious tunes. So, Mr. Isad, we will come to you, and since you have, this is the second time in Pakistan, so far, how have you found the audiences? How have you found the reception here? And how do you find the atmosphere? Do you think that the music is flourishing here in our country? How do you find the comparison between your country and our country?
Yes, it's my third time.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Pakistan. And it's for me a beautiful experience to be here, and I think music connected people, and music is a universal, unique language, and audience in Pakistan, they have not too much contact with jazz music, but they understand this language because it is about
it touches your soul, right?
yes,
and in a way that, I mean, transcends the boundaries, that transcends the era, that transcends the time. And this is the beauty of the music, this is the beauty of the art. So, Mr. Jersey, now coming back to you, since when did you in your lifetime develop a taste for this music, the instruments that you hold, and when were your first performance? Would you like to share your experience with us?
My first performance?
Yes.
I know I started to play piano and started to do music in the age of 5, so you know, I'm playing all my life.
Right.
Starting from classical, like Western classical music,
Wonderful.
then with jazz, and now I'm combining different styles. So, but yeah, I know. Like, but the question was about my first performance.
Yes, yes.
Actually, I don't have any nice hot story about this, but yeah, there was like yeah, I was a pianist for like from when I was super young, so
Okay.
maybe some piano concert.
Right, right. So, Mr. Bathik, coming to you, we would also like to ask you the same question. So, when was your first time when you started doing it, and what inspired you to play these instruments?
Actually, my father gave me this idea, and he just thought I am talented in this, and I guess he was right.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And at the, I mean, they are going to perform in the PNCA at the 26th of November. And ladies and gentlemen, those who are residing in Islamabad or those who are coming to Islamabad, please grab your tickets and go to this international jazz festival, because we listened to their tunes and they were really a delight to our ears, and we are really wonderful, and that's a wonderful experience listening to them, and we're really excited for this festival. And Ali, pardon, I have something stuck in
Oh,
my
that's
throat.
okay.
So Ali, I would like to ask you, are you invested into the jazz music, or do you listen to the jazz music?
Yes, sometimes, definitely. As I've said earlier that, I don't hook up to any specific genre in the music. I mean, whatever sounds pleasing to the ears, I, enjoy the music. And definitely, as Mr. Assad, he said that, music is a unique way of connecting with the souls.
That's very
So
true.
it has definitely a very important part in our lives.
That's very true, and with the music flourishing in Pakistan, especially in Pakistan's music industry, we've seen that Pakistani artists have made their names across the world, and their songs were hit, and they were topping the Spotify lists in the charts, and they were invited across the music. So we've seen that there's a very flourishing environment when it comes to the jazz music in Pakistan. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, please grab your tickets and be there at PNCA on 26th of November to attend their jazz festival. And we would like to thank you all three, the gentlemen, for coming to our show and for playing their instruments and giving us a glimpse into what is going to come on 26th of November. With that, we will wrap up our segment and bid you farewell. And until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good morning.